Welcome to Crucial Dialogue, hosted by Reverend Roger Gambrell and Reverend Clinton Thomas, where we discuss pivotal and controversial issues for those that need nurturing and clarity in the faith. Converse with us. Ask any question you want. Meet us online and join the dialogue. This is Crucial Dialogue.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome back to Crucial Dialogue, where we discuss controversial and pivotal issues that need clarity in the faith. I am your co-host, Reverend Clinton Thomas. Glad to be with you on tonight. And as always, I have with me my co-host, Pastor Roger Gambrell. Pastor Gambrell, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good. Good to be here with the other brothers and sisters in the faith, and just look forward to some crucial dialogue.
All right, glad to have you. We also have with us, returning back by popular demand, Deacon Andy Jackson. Deacon Jackson, what's going on? How you doing today?
Doing good today. Long week, Monday, ready to get some crucial dialogue on.
All right. And as always, the show would not be the same without Princess Firecracker Sherelle Ross. There you go. Strike that pose. Mr. Ross, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm glad to be here today to stir it up with y'all.
All right. Well, let's not waste any time. Crucial dialogue. So, the last time we were together, we were talking about the importance of parents taking their children to church. Man, the dialogue was so good. We hated to stop, but we had to. And so we want to pick up right where we left off last time, discussing why it's important for parents to take their children to church. One of the reasons we brought this subject matter back to the screen is because we had a comment that popped up on us at the last minute. We wanted to revisit that. We didn't want to go home without having some dialogue about this comment that popped up. And so let's get it started. So, panel, brothers and sisters in Christ, we're talking about the importance of parents taking their children to church. Let's dive right into this comment. We left off here. Let's pick up where we left off. What happens, folks, when a child has a bad experience at church, being talked to negatively about how they're dressed and being told they're a bad influence? We got some things going on. We got somebody, we don't know, we haven't identified if it's a child or an adult, that's talking to another child at church, the place of love, the place where God dwells, the place we go and worship and serve. They're talking to this child at church, and they say negative things to him. And it's sad to say it may be coming from a child of God. They say negative things about how they're dressed. They attack the appearance, and then they're being told they're a bad influence. So man, let's go on the offensive tonight, panel. What's up? How do we find this person? Who are we looking for that said and did these things to this child? How do we find them in the church? Where are they? Let's dialogue. Come on, Sherelle.
This is how you find that person, I'm telling you. So, when you walk into church, it's always 3 people at the door. Okay? 3. Sometimes it's 3 women. Sometimes it's 2 women and a man. If out of them 3, somebody give you that look, it's them. But but the thing is, the reason why I know that's an adult is because children are cruel. Like kids say with the first thing they come here, but children, they continue the conversation. Adults will tell you about yourself so rudely and then walk away, not care how you feel about it. That sounds like an adult said that to a child, and that child went back and told their parents.
Okay. Deacon Jackson, I see you nodding.
I think that is more, just to answer the question, I think that the parent should have some crucial dialogue with their with their child about understanding that nobody's perfect, no institution is perfect, and you're gonna run into people that's gonna do what people do. So, in order for you to make sure that don't ruin the child's experience totally, you got to have that dialogue about what the purpose of them going to church is, so that they can kind of block out some of those naysayers or the negative people that may be within good intentions. I know a lot of time us Christians we project, and if the child is not necessarily at the right place with God, then those projections of what the good intentions of just trying to correct some, behaviors or some dress codes that may be out of line to what is acceptable at that church that you are particularly at. But the parent owes it to that child to make sure that they understand that just because they're at church, that everybody in church don't present themselves in a way that's Christ-like.
All right, Pastor Gambriel, I see you ready. Come on, brother.
I just, again, I think everything begins with relationships. Number one. Number two is, brother Andy said was real good about how the parent can talk to the child. But then I want to interject a question. What if the parents are not connected? What if the parents are unchurched? So I think everything begins. I think everything begins with how
Pastor Gambriel, I can't
every
hear
member
you.
of the church understands their role of love.
I can't hear.
And I think if we don't have that type of atmosphere and mindset in people, people are going to be more prone to judge, more prone to say these type of things, seeing themselves as, I'm not a youth worker, I don't deal with kids, that type of thing, rather than these are all our children, whether they're coming from the outside or not, we have an opportunity to minister to them. It's just a mindset and attitude. I've never run into that attitude from an adult before. I know it's possible. I've run into that attitude from other kids.
I have.
I've run into from adults.
I had it with an adult. Yeah. Several times.
So you were a teen or a child when you experienced this?
I was a teen.
Okay.
I was a teen. And I would go to church, and I had a shoe fetish. So I had really nice heels, and I used to always get talked about with my heels. And it was more of a condescending talk. It wasn't look at her. It was oh, you sure you can walk in those? Just little comments. And it's like, well, yeah, I made it from the car to the door, so I think I'm good. So it's just little comments that people don't realize, like, hey, you just offended me. Like, it wasn't like my whole outfit was, inappropriate. I think I had on slacks that day, or pants that was at my ankles. So, I wasn't dressed inappropriately. It was just I had a high heel on. And that it was a comment made about that. And I was a teen.
So when we talk about the importance of parents taking their children to church, so it sounds like we need to also be on guard for attacks that our children may deal with while they're at church. Sounds like that's possible. It could come from a peer, and God forbid it would come from an adult. But let me say this real quick. Those of you that are out there in Facebook and YouTube world, if you're watching us live, we want to hear from you. We want to get some feedback on this subject of the importance of parents taking their children to church. Did your parents take you to church when you were a child? Did they drag you out of the house by your ear or your collar and make you go? Or were you happy to go? Did you go on your own? We want to hear from you. Why is it so important, those of you that are out there in the virtual world, why is it so important for parents to take their children to church? Or do you feel that it's not important to take your child to church? Because, hey, we don't know the perspective on some of these parents. Pastor Gambriel gave a powerful testimony last time about how a peer helped him come to know the Lord. And so, are there parents that just refuse to take their children to church? And if they do, is that a problem? Well, let's address that. The importance of parents taking their children to church. What problems do parents? What are some problems that may be faced if you don't take your child to church? Let's talk about that for just a minute.
Well, let me add this in, Brother Clint. That's a good question. The challenge is, number one, what you want to do with kids is at church you learn how to love the Lord. You understand that specifically. It's not a place for moral development. Even though that's happened, that moral development happens, but that's not the first reason you come to church. First reason you come to church is to learn about Christ and love Him. Moral development come out of that. But in addition to what you said about my testimony last week, I want to quickly add in that it was my friend, but it was other people who took up the call to get involved.
Okay.
So some of our parents may never bring their kids to church. It could be because of work. It could be because they've never been exposed to the gospel. So number one, we have to assume when a person's not bringing their kids to church, I'm gonna assume number one, they don't know God, or I'm gonna assume that they may be working. I'm gonna always take those two major assumptions, and from there, I gotta find out some details. But I think we have to keep in consideration that any kids that we see in the church, we have to take them on and get it. So I'm gonna throw that in.
Okay. Thank you, Deacon. Give us some insight on these parents that just won't take their kids to church.
So I think that you have a generation of parents that may, don't quote me on this, but may homeschool their kids in church. So I don't think that just because they're not going to church don't necessarily mean they're not believers. I think that the church has some accountability that it needs to address as far as the atmosphere of church, the culture in church. And to Pastor Gambrell's point, are you teaching the Bible, or are you teaching more like assimilation type? You can say that we're learning to love Christ, but if you don't know the word, then I don't think that you can love Christ as much as you would if you understood the word. And so when we're at church, it has to be a creative teaching atmosphere for the youth in order for them to grasp a hold of the concept. Because I spoke last time about just the dialogue in the Bible. It's kind of hard to read in layman's terms. So if you don't have a creative way of teaching that word and getting those children to migrate to you, as far as wanting to know more, wanting to be a better person, because at the age, under 15, it's so much going on as far as how our imagination works. And when you I know Pastor White talks about the spookiness of the Bible, some these spooky Christians. And so when you get a hold to some spooky Christians and they got a 15 or younger, that becomes reality to them, because their imagination is far more stronger than what ours is, because we've been in this world longer enough to know that, hey, this is real and this is fake. But at a young age, that imagination goes wild. And so if you get a hold to some spooky Christians that get a hold to those kids, you never know what the outcome of their perception of the Bible and Jesus and all of the things that we glory can be interpreted. And now you stuck on the back end, 8, 15 and up, of trying to break down those walls of assuming that, I understand the Bible, but I was taught it in a way that was not, I guess you could say, factual or realistic.
Yeah. Let me throw this also in. Discipleship and this thing that we do in terms of Bible teaching and teaching the gospel is demonstrative. When I say demonstrative means we're going to teach, but behind the teaching has to be demonstrated life on life. Camps, fellowships, lock-ins, Friday night outs, all of these things to build a culture where it's inviting. Because here's the thing, if you read the Gospels, this is what I've always seen. The people that Jesus hung around the most were the people that were the most rejected. The people that were the most looked over, the people that were not the popular kids, the people that were not the people that would have been on TV, the drunkards, the prostitutes, the people that were not the normal crowd, the people that religious people would walk past. Jesus invited those people. He hung out with those people. He ate with those people. And I think when it comes to young people today are different than young people were a long time ago. They've been exposed to more. Okay. They got so much information. But man, if the gospel becomes demonstrative, what I mean by demonstrative, man, when we move past what they were until we develop relationships and really love on a kid so hard where it's like, I can't go anywhere else and get this. That's the type of level of ministry I'm talking about. You can teach, but teaching had to go along with demonstration because that's when you bring power.
Right.
So that when I talk about the people that discipled me, I'm talking about people that went to the store with me and bought clothes. Took it out of their pocket. When they saw me have a need, they saw my love for God, while I was attempting to walk with God in my struggles and everything. They walked with me, sat with me, saw me cry, saw me deal with my issues, and just was so concerned about me. They didn't worry about the stuff I didn't have. Amen. The question is, do young people get that experience today from the church?
No.
Most young people go to church today. Are they getting that type of experience?
Nope.
That's a challenge.
I heard a no from the crowd. Elaborate, please.
So, young people, when young, and I'm gonna speak for youth, and I'm gonna speak for young adults. First, I'm gonna speak for young adults because I am one. It's so critiqued, every little thing we do, the way we praise and worship, the way we listen. If we got our Bible on our phone, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I don't own a Bible anymore. The last Bible I owned was a children's Bible. It had pictures in it. So that's the last Bible I had. My Bible is
the best one.
And it was. And that's why I used it so long. But you know what? As I got older, I got critiqued for being a teen having a picture Bible. I said, this was given to me by my godmom. This is my Bible. But I got criticized for that. So I downloaded it on my phone. I still got criticized. That's a problem. Youth critique. Y'all say they're not paying attention in church. Everybody don't listen the same. Some people take notes. They're active. They're attentive. Some people shout praise. Kids don't do that. They sit there. They absorb differently. So it's the judgment. So you can't love on me if you're not talking my language. You have to speak my language in order to understand me and be able to love on me that way. That's that barrier right there. Now, working with Youth Extreme, just to backtrack to something that you said, it's a lot of youth that come to church, and the only time I've seen their parents is at drop-off and pick-up. The children love to be there, but the parents would not come inside the church. They wouldn't even get out the car.
Amen. But let me chime in that. That goes back again. Now you're talking about something else, where the ministry has to involve itself further than I'm touching a kid, because I'm really not just touching a kid. I'm touching a family. Right. So that means I've got to put some work in to build a relationship with that parent and to cast the vision. Because here's the thing I've learned. It's just like I'm a teacher in high school. When I get a parent's buy-in on what I'm doing in the classroom, when I convince the parent that their kid is my responsibility, their kid's success is my priority, the parent's view changes. Okay, because in reality, a lot of our parents today need help. You got to take consideration. Black children, and I'm speaking specifically in the context of our black churches, because that's the context in which I minister in. Black children are 7 and 10 not to live with their fathers. Doesn't mean their father not in their life, but it means 7 and 10 not to live with their fathers. So that makes a difference. That makes a difference. Their fathers are not there with them on a weekly, daily basis. That plays a role. So mom is doing more than a normal mom does. That single mom working extra hours. So that means if that kid can't come to church, we might have a Zoom ministry for the youth. But if we don't have that, or if we've got a youth night, who's going to make the sacrifice to pick that kid up? What other person in our ministry is going to adopt that kid as a friend and say, okay, Johnny's mom's working Friday, she's getting off at midnight. We want this kid committed in ministry. This kid is 15. He's at the high school, but the Lord is really working in his life. But yet, who's going to make the sacrifice to make sure that kid can get from Ridgemont to the church? See, that type of thing, when we talk about the personal sacrifices, why some parents have challenges. I said single parents, jobs. So we have to take those things into consideration, but somebody have to die to themselves and take that responsibility.
Let me say something real quick, Sherelle. Let me say something real quick. Great point you make, Pastor Gambrell. As youth pastor, what Teresa and I do when we have youth night, what we call hype night. Those of you also, I'm going to go ahead and plug. If you have teenagers and if they don't have anything to do, connect them with Youth Extreme at Christian Bible Church. We have a wonderful youth ministry. COVID did not slow us down. We transitioned right from social distancing right into Zoom and didn't miss a beat. So just want to put that out there. Something Teresa and I do. That's my lovely wife of 27 blissful years. Anyway, what Teresa and I do as leaders of the youth ministry, and it works. There are times when the parents drop their kids off and they don't come in. But when they come back and pick them up, we make a point to go outside and dialogue with those parents and introduce ourselves. And you'd be amazed that the next time, a month later or so, when they drop their child back off at the next hype night, that parent actually comes in. That's where right. The first time they didn't bother. They dropped them off and they were willing to stay outside. They would call the kids or text them and say, I'm outside. Well, we have a rule. You don't leave the building on your own. And so we want to make that connection with the parents, because Pastor Gambrell, you say they need help. I found out that a lot of them want help. Okay. Amen. A lot of them want help, and they just want to know. They want to know who wants to help me. And when they see other believers, those of us that serve in the youth ministries, when they see that, hey, this person not only is interested in my child, but they came out to find interest in me, that helps them also. And then that starts a dialogue. That starts an exchanging of numbers, and some other things happen. And then we start going in a better direction. Mm-hmm. And that's just a small connection that happens 10 minutes on a Friday night, but we don't know the larger impact that it's doing to that parent on the other end.
My question was, so Pastor Gambrell, you said Johnny, right? We're going to use that name, Johnny. Yeah, so Johnny is, go ahead. I want to stick with Johnny. So Johnny is coming. Johnny's at church. We got pickup and drop off set up for Johnny. We know Johnny in a single parent home. Johnny got a bunch of siblings. Mom is working a bunch of jobs. You know, she ain't got time. So we done made that connection. Mom know who we are. Mom know everything about us. She know Johnny in safe hands, but mom don't want nothing to do with us. She's glad Johnny is getting the word. She's glad Johnny is saved. Johnny's in sports. Johnny got it made. But mom says she don't want nothing to do with the church. Johnny can go, but I'm not. How you handle that?
You handle that by dealing with Johnny.
You didn't disciple to her, but she ain't with it.
But see, there are lots of people that Jesus dealt with that wasn't with it. He didn't make anybody follow him. So what I'm saying is that we're gonna minister to Johnny because Johnny's hungry. Johnny's following. But we're going to love her through Johnny.
Right,
See,
right.
we're gonna do our best to minister to her through Johnny. Because see, if Johnny's life's being transformed, see, you go read Mark chapter 5. The guy that's cutting himself in the graveyard, Jesus said, "Go home and show yourself."
Uh-huh.
So we're gonna minister to Johnny so he can go home and show himself. And over time, it's gonna be the Holy Spirit's role to deal with mom. Because see, we can't make mom get saved. We can't make mom trust God. But the church gotta be the church. We gotta exemplify the love of Christ and be guilty of doing that. And not doing what we're talking
Whoa,
about. You
I
know, the
like
opening
that.
quote we used. We don't want to be
Yeah,
guilty of that. We want to be guilty
right.
of loving Johnny and letting God work on mom through Johnny's life.
Okay, so
That's all we can do.
circling back to that first question about, the child being talked about, the church got to understand where Johnny came from. Johnny came from this, so he ain't gonna be here when he get to us. He gonna be a little rough. We gotta work with Johnny to get up here, cause Johnny mama is over there somewhere. We trying to we starting with Johnny. So what I'm saying is, and I agree with everything you said. All I'm saying is the church gotta realize Johnny is not coming in with the knowledge of what he needs to look like per se. So Johnny needs help. So we can't help Johnny with negative comments. We got to be patient with Johnny.
Man, I like what you said, Pastor Gambrell. The church needs to be the church. I like that. Come on, go ahead with your comments.
Yeah, and I was going to say, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother Andy.
Well, I was going to comment on the church being the church. I think that's a good saying, but traditionally and historically, that message don't get out the right way. So most people that think, and I guess Gen X, my generation, when they hear people say the church gonna be the church, then we thinking, the church is not progressive enough. I think that a lot of conservatives align themselves with the principles in the Bible and put a cap on how progressive our God is. I mean, the fact that he sent Jesus to save us is a notion of how progressive our God is. He noticed that it was something going wrong, and he needed to give us a template, a physical template, to be able to follow and understand coming out of the Old Testament of the principles. But then fast forward, 2,000-3,000 years later, we at the church sometimes put a cap on how progressive the church can be, and it's based off of the principles of the older days. So when we open up those doors of progressiveness, meaning that Jesus come in the room and turn over the table in the tax office, I mean, that's a progressive type movement, a progressive type action. So in order for us to get the grandparent, the parent, and the children, you're dealing with three different generations. You're dealing with three different Americas that they grew up in. And so if the church is still stuck in the days of the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, when we said, everybody came together to church and we ate together and we discipled together, well, we got to figure out a way to get into the 80s and 90s, and then fast forward to the 2000s, and now we in the 2020s, and God has his way of making us become progressive, like pandemics and technology that we was afraid to use before the pandemic, and then we was forced to use them, and now we like, oh, look at these tools that we have. So in order for us as a church to continue to grasp all of the different cultures that Black people have, because we're not a monolith, all of the different generations of trauma and turmoil and oppression, that the church has to stand up and say, look, I'm here for all. I'm here for all. And that starts at the top, for what it's worth. And then the rest of the church most likely will follow if we open up those doors of progressiveness, meaning that we accept all. Jesus didn't turn away people. So we got to get better as a church in inclusion, but we got to get up to the times, because you can get left behind.
Very true.
I got a message that came across my phone that says, and Andy, you brought up a great point. Oh, there it is, right there. It came across the screen. During this period of COVID, why are more parents not connecting their children to church virtually? What's going on? Because we know the device is working, because the child hadn't jumped on the parent. So we know the Wi-Fi is on, because they needed to play the PS3, 4, and 5. We know the Wi-Fi is working. So we know the tablet is charged up because there's electricity running through the house. But good question, Claude Griffin. Why are more parents not connecting their children to church virtually, which requires, I believe, less effort because there's no travel time. Okay, it's a shoulders up view in front of the screen. So let's dialogue about that for just a moment. What do we think? What's the problem? We're talking about why the importance of parents taking their children to church. Now let's shift gears. Why aren't parents even connecting their children to church virtually? What's going on with that? Yes, sir.
I'm just going to argue. I just think I think for some people, it's an area of conviction, because when we were home before we went back into the church in November, we were virtual. We were virtual from, I guess, April until November. And the conviction was in our home that for worship, everybody would be in the living room together, watching and viewing together and worshiping together. Even when we didn't have worship and songs, when we would do our own music and worship before the sermon started, there was a conviction of our family. So that's, it's interesting to me, because when you talk about that aspect, that's a different aspect. Because in our church, you do worship with the pastor virtually, then the children's ministry. So for some people, after the worship is over, in their minds, they might be done. Because you're talking about, if you're doing children's set up the way we have it, after this, the adult worship or the general worship, you going into the children's thing. But at 12:30, most people are like, well, I'm headed off somewhere. So depending on the time might be an issue. And I'm just raising that. But I just think everything begins with a conviction and a belief that parents have about how important it is for their kids to be in front of Word. I think it starts right there.
Okay.
I think to answer the question,
Go ahead, Andy.
I was going to answer the question. I think that the ones that they just don't see the value in it. I mean, you when you see value in it, you'll do it. So
that's real.
And real. It's simple as that. But the church owns a part of that too. So we have to make sure that we're creating an atmosphere where they know that it is valuable for the kids and for us to be able to turn our kids over virtually and at least get something out of it in a progressive way to know that child is getting fed. But I think that it's a simple answer. The ones that don't, they just don't see the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that's heavy. Come on, Firecracker.
That's honest.
I was pretty much gonna say what Andy said, because it's really like if I wasn't walking into church on time, in person, what makes you think I'm gonna put in any effort to log in? It's like people saying, well, it's easier. All you gotta do is get on your phone. You're already on your phone, but I have to want to do it. Some people are looking like, well, you need to, but I, as an individual, I have to want to wake up at whatever time church start, even Bible study. I gotta want to get up and want to be in tune. Now I can be awake and watch on TV, but am I in tune? Because it's easy to put the TV on just to say it's on. But am I paying attention? Am I getting fed? Am I listening? So if not, then it's just on. Anybody could turn, the phone on and watch, the church on your phone. But what are you getting from it besides saying, "Oh yeah, I was there. I had it on. I'm a viewer." So if you didn't want to do it in person, you're not gonna. It's definitely gonna be at the back of your mind virtually. That's just what it is.
So it sounds like all roads are leading back to the parents. That's what it sounds like, because when they shut down the schools, I guess it's the value that Andy's talking about. When they shut down the schools, that and grades were at stake. They didn't play around. That wasn't played around with. I know we didn't in my house.
That's
We
not
didn't have.
necessarily
We haven't
so.
had. Yeah, we didn't have. Well, I'm just guessing. We didn't have a problem with worshiping virtually because we were worshiping as a family anyway. But I'm just saying that when it came to virtual schooling, now I know I saw on the news where one of our largest school districts was talking about the absenteeism on the virtual classroom. So
Yep.
I remember that those, and they talked about that consistently. How some children were falling behind because somebody said a minute ago about people learn differently, and so I understand that part. But still, I know even me as a parent, if my daughter has cheer practice, but she got some finals coming up, I'll tell her no, that cheer can hold off. We got to get this education thing out front.
That's right.
And so we need to have that same attitude when it comes to their spiritual well-being. When it compares to some of the other stuff that we do, that other activities that we commit to, that we allow our children to commit to, and we back them up on those commitments, but we don't have that same zeal towards godly things.
Yeah, and I
earlier.
what were you saying?
Oh no, I was saying it was something said earlier about why kids don't want to come to church. I just thought about something else. Most times, and y'all might get mad, but this is just what it is. So
Okay.
if dad is staying home, so is the child. And then mom is off to church. So if dad don't have to go, why I gotta go? Dad at home watching TV. So I'm gonna stay here with dad. Okay, bye family. And mom going to church. So it ain't just about getting a parent in. We need both of them. Whether it's the same house or not, whatever. We still need both of them. Because at the end of the day, they both share that child. And if if they not on the same page, the children, it's a wrap.
And I'm gonna throw this in. Parents that have their kids in youth fellowship, youth ministry, I tell my kids, invite your friends, and I'll pick them up. Because here's the thing. The greatest ministry of discipleship that we often overlook is the opportunity to disciple kids through our kids or to expose them to the gospel. Right. And so it's a good opportunity to show your kids how to be a witness for God by telling them, invite your friends. Just invite your friends. Okay, they're in the area. Okay, we'll pick them up or whatever. That encourages your kids to be more of a witness. So that's a responsibility that parents can take with their kids to help encourage that. Because again, some parents are not thinking about this stuff. This is not 1970, man. Brother Andy Ray, we're not the 30s and 40s anymore. This is not the normal world. People church ain't top 10 no more, man. Church used to be top 3. Church ain't even top 10. So
man,
guess what?
What replaced
that means believer. But see, again, everything goes back to the believer's responsibility. Believers we gotta invite.
I think that if we
right, they replaced it.
I think that if we are more transparent with our flaws with our kids and how we work through those flaws through Christ. A lot of times we shelter our kids into thinking that things are perfect, and we go to church and everything's perfect, and they get what they want and they don't have any issues. But I think that if we was transparent with our flaws and how we use Christ to maintain and help, we at my household, in the Jackson household, we try to be consistent about saying prayers together every night. We don't hit it every night, but we do pray. And when I pray, I'm praying for my kids and myself and my wife out loud to show them that, hey, I'm a man, but I need help too. And I know that it's one person that can help me more than anybody. And so if my three sons see me in my flaws, coming home from work tired, having disagreements with the wife, not being happy with the grades that they have, or not, just walking in my flaws. But then at night I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna pray, and I say, every night I say, thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come together as a family and get on our knees and shout our prayers up. That's one pray that I always pray at night, because it's just a blessing to make it through that day and then be able to give gratitude to Jesus. And when you do that and they see that, they know daddy not perfect, so they know daddy's working through it. And so when we have ministry and discipleships, they're going to grow into that. I understand that Pastor Clint is going to have a different perspective than I do. So that's value in Youth Extreme. And if my son is not on Wednesday, I need to know, so it's one of those things that when I talk about the value in it, we want to make sure that we're showing our kids that, hey, I'm not the end all to be all. I'm a human being too. But when I have any kind of concerns or distress, it's one person that I'm going to call on, and that's Christ. And so when they do that, going to church and all of that is going to become just normal. It becomes normal. And as far as Sister Firecracker saying, I mean, my grandpa didn't go to church as much when I was growing up, but Granny got up, and it wasn't no he stay here and y'all stay and I'm going now. She got up and she gave us that call that said, hey, we're going to church. So that means that in 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, it's time to go. And I don't care who's staying here at the house, but you going with me. Yeah. So that what I mean. Like, I don't necessarily believe that it has to be two, even though that's good examples to have two. But you can work with one parent and just expect for that child to know that there's one place to go to be saved, and that's the church.
Yeah.
Man, hey, man, good dialogue.
Well, hey, digging in the house, baby.
Hey, look, I know. Hey, let the church say amen. Hello, somebody. But I almost could close right there, but I'm going to go back around the room. Firecracker, closing comments on the importance of parents taking their children to church.
Man, how do you say a closing comment after that?
Just say, hey, amen.
Yeah, I agree with everything Andy said. Parents need to realize that, like a comment said, you set the tone for your children's lives. So whatever you do or don't do, they're watching. As a child, I always followed the lead of my father because he was the head of our household. And not saying I did not listen to my mom, but he was the head. So he set the tone. So men, y'all got to set the tone. Y'all got to set it too. Women, we got to get right on in line. We have to be a family. We have to be one. We can't be all over the place. So that's my closing. Amen.
Deacon Jackson, if you care to follow what you just said, give us something on your way out of here.
Well, I just like to say that it's very important for your parents to be taking their children to church. It's very important for the parent to be involved in church to the extent that they can be involved. And it's also very important for the churches to have a Pastor Clint, a Pastor Gambrell, the deacons in the family to be able to take those kids under their wings and give them a perspective of Christ and the Bible, to be able to look forward to life and not discouraged with the things that's going on in the world, but make it fun and friendly so that they can actually want to go tell their friend, hey, y'all need to come with me on Wednesdays because, man, Pastor Clint be on fire. He play music that we listen to. They eat. We listen to the good Christian videos, and we're modern. It's not just, kumbaya, read the scripture and then talk down on me and tell me what I need to be. So, if you got a child out there and you need to be connected, ChristianBible.com, holler at Pastor Clint. You can jump in his DM. And he'll take care of
y'all. Oh, wait. What does DM stand for again? No, I'm just kidding.
Direct message, man.
Pastor Gambrell, closing comments.
Why is it important? DM, y'all.
Yeah. Pastor Gambrell, why is it so important that parents take their children to church?
Man, discipleship is demonstrative. Kids got to see it. And in the church body, man, it's the people's responsibility to demonstrate this for the kids. And it's so important for us to take our arms around these kids and walk with these kids and help them develop and become responsible adults. More than that, God's people, disciples, followers of Christ. That's the work we should all be involved in. I'm sitting here today because somebody gave of themselves. That's the only reason I'm here today. I'm here because someone else put themselves down. Like Jesus said, you gain your life by losing your life. And so someone lost their life,
right,
but gave their life for me. And so I'm just going to encourage you. We need to bring our kids to church because they need to be exposed to the gospel and know what it means to follow Jesus.
Amen. Well put. Well, folks, this has been another great dialogue talking about the importance of why parents should take their children to church. You have made a lot of good comments, and I stand with you in everything you said, especially when Andy spoke on letting those of you in the Facebook and YouTube world know that if there's no other place for your child to go, at Christian Bible Church, we have a thriving children's ministry and a wonderful youth ministry to help nurture your child in their walk with the Lord. And even if they're not saved, we still want to love on them because Jesus' ministry is a ministry of love. And so hope you all enjoyed this dialogue, part 2, on the importance of parents taking their children to church. I'll end it just like we did last time with the proverbial words, train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. Folks, we hope you've enjoyed us. Also, check us out on www.powerhouseoflove.org. We hope you enjoyed this show, this dialogue on the importance of taking your children to church. Join us next time, same crucial time, same crucial channel. Thank you, panel. Enjoyed you. We'll see you next time. Everybody be blessed.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Make sure you never miss a show by joining us on Mondays at 6 p.m. by going to our website, powerhouseoflove.org, our YouTube and Facebook channel, or the Google and Apple Podcasts. Hope you tune in next time.